Matheson. This is a guy we should be adding. And if you added him this week, you loved life because he was coming off not just a great Sunday last week when we were ahead of that curve, but also a great Thursday night football as well. So last week, 7 for 9 for 164 and a touchdown. This week on Thursday, 5 for 5, 77 and a touchdown. He didn't even play the first 2 weeks of the year, and he's already a top 10 tight end in scoring, if you can believe it. Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Travis Hunter, Joe, is a part-time wide receiver. As I've told people from the moment he was drafted, there's zero chance long-term that they'll continue to do this in terms of playing offense and defense. They're going to have to pick a position with him. Brian Thomas, he was unbelievable. Talking to the Jaguars about him last season, he was so far ahead of schedule where they thought he'd be super smart. He had a wrist injury, by the way. We need to mention that, Joe, earlier this season.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
SMU is undefeated. You got Louisville that knocked off Miami. Yeah. Miami has one loss. There's multiple teams that potentially can make a run for an ACC championship. So their backs are still against the wall. Like, Georgia Tech is not a shoo-in right now just because they're undefeated, because they still have to play Georgia at the end of the year as well. Even though it's out of conference, that can knock them out of the playoff.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
$17,848 have been bet on this question, Joe, at Kalshi. How many pro football games will Taylor Swift attend this season?
They average an average of 9.3 games during this season here, and a lot of that has to do with her reduced touring schedule, and this maybe being his final NFL season.
Incredible stuff here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Top of the hour power right here on the Early Line. So much happened last night. Oh, my goodness. How can you get ready for tonight? An exciting Major League Baseball game, Monday Night Football. Now we sit on a Tuesday saying, well, what can we expect? A huge hockey card tonight, a lot of NBA games, a game number 4 in Major League Baseball in the World Series where we have no idea we're going to get after an 18-inning performance. And then, oh, yeah, we got to get looking already on next week's NFL action. And also, pains me to say, Joe, Week 10 in college football? What's going on? How did we get here?
Yeah. I was just thinking that too, Donnie. Like, how in the world, where is the time gone? I mean, the good news is Week 10 brings an awful lot of very important matchups for anybody who thinks they're going to have a shot at the college football playoff. And we're a couple of weeks away from our very first, I believe, committee ranking as well there, Donnie?
Oh, now that's something I really look forward to, where the committee goes, how can we just get talking points here and nothing matters till the final show, but why are we going to get people to watch this? Get ready for that. And also understand this. There's a lot of teams in that top 12 that could be in that top 12 and out of that top 12 as we go, regardless if they win or lose, just to keep the people hanging on to the edge of their seat. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Georgia Tech, and that schedule right now that you got. We'll see what happens at the end of the season, because we are going to have heavy conversations of 2 lost teams versus 1 lost teams, where the old school, like, wins matter, and the new school is going to be like, yeah, wins matter when you're beating Kennesaw State. It's, hey, you like to put your team out there, Joe, each and every week, as opposed to Alabama. Come on now at this point. Let's get into some of the early lineup here, which included the Kansas City Chiefs last night picking up a victory 28-7 over the Washington Commanders. Patrick Mahomes, big second half, throws 3 touchdown passes as they erase the Washington Commanders in the second half with a 3-touchdown win, as they were favorites by roughly double digits.
Rough first half for Mahomes and the Chiefs offensively, right? Couple of interceptions, although tip balls really wasn't necessarily his fault. But they come out of the locker room in the second half, in the first 3 possessions, touchdown, game over. Defensively, though, Kansas City coming into their own, and that is very dangerous for everybody else.
No, it certainly is dangerous for everybody else. Like, it looks like they were just, the past couple weeks doing just enough to win football games, but winning them extra convincingly at the same time. We'll see, though. We talked about it already, Joe. The next couple weeks going to be a litmus test once again for the Kansas City Chiefs to find out exactly who they are, taking their show on the road and away from the friendly confines there of Arrowhead Stadium. We'll see what things have in store for those Kansas City Chiefs. I'll tell you what's in store. They're probably going to have to go up against Patrick Surtain, which is a huge deal. Why? One of the best cornerbacks in football. It's a marriage made in heaven. The Denver defense is getting after quarterbacks at a historic pace. It's also nice? Guys on the back end that can defend and jump routes and be elite lockdown defenders. You get that with Patrick Surtain. You're just not going to get that for the Denver Broncos over the next couple weeks. But Ian Rappaport did tweet out, he's considered week to week. He's probably going to be down with maybe an IR stint, but he's still saying it's solid news because the worst case would have been like, oh yeah, surgery, and we're late October. See you next year, kid.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the scary part. And they got a game on the road against Houston this week, who doesn't exactly, the wide receivers there, because who knows who's going to be healthy, don't exactly scare you. But they are going to need him down the stretch. So hopefully it's a month, Donnie, and that's it. And he can get back in by the time December rolls around. Because if not, that's a big loss for that Denver defense.
Carson Wentz, that's a loss for Minnesota where they were just using him to get J.J. McCarthy back on the field. So it looks like J.J. is going to be the starter this week because it can't be Carson Wentz. It says Wentz has been playing through a dislocated shoulder that included a torn labrum and a fractured socket, a source told ESPN. Good luck with that. He gutted it out. But, boy, it did show he was gutting it out because some of those performances, not so good. But what do you want from a guy that's basically blown up out there as a crash test dummy?
And that's exactly what he was, man. And I feel terrible for him, too, because not only coming off of that Sunday game, they made him go early and play against the Chargers on Thursday night, in which he got sacked 5 times. And every time he got hit, it was so he grimaced so much where you're like, ooh, that hurt just watching it. And now he's done for the year. So good luck finding another backup quarterback there, Minnesota. Good luck with that.
Hey, good luck finding a pitcher to come out of the bullpen tonight in Major League Baseball. Why? We just saw an 18-inning marathon end with a Freddie Freeman solo home run. And by the way, that was the only way it was going to end. Somebody had to hit a home run. I think both of the teams understood that. Just go up there and swing away. Hopefully somebody catches one. And Freddie Freeman, like he's done on multiple occasions, walking off in a World Series to give the Los Angeles Dodgers a 2-1 series lead after a 6-5 victory last night. Sometimes we say to ourselves, well, I don't know if we're going to see that again with Shohei Ohtani. Every night he's giving us something that says we might never see it again until he plays another baseball game.
Yeah, exactly correct. It's amazing watching the storylines here with both of these teams. That game last night, historic, and what a way to end it with the walk-off home run from who else? Freddie Freeman. But that game last night now changes a lot for both these teams for the rest of this series, certainly when it comes to pitching decisions.
NBA releases a memo that says they need to assess the dire risks of gambling, which everybody knows, and even Charles Barkley said it from way back in the day when legalized gambling wasn't even around. You can't bet on the sport here. Don't risk it. You make a lot of money. When you retire, bet as much as you want, but for now, just don't bet here. It seems like it's that simple, but we are human beings here. I mean, heck, hey, let's just make murder illegal. Murder happens every day because we're human beings and we make mistakes here. Mistakes will continue to be made in the NBA, and guys will bet on their sport and release information. Why? Because they're humans. But now we have the fail-safes in place that lets us know sooner than later when these illegal bets are coming in, and we can sort of put a tamper on those. But gambling has always been around. Games have always been fixed, and people have always gotten in trouble. But the NBA's job now is to say, look, we're going to catch you if you do this wrong. Advice, don't do it.
Yeah, well, shocker, right? I mean, just don't fix poker games. Don't tell people you might not be playing. Don't get into bed with the shadiest of shady people. Don't be greedy. Bottom line here, it would just seem like it. Mostly common sense stuff. The fact that you have to put that into a memo with, grown multi-millionaire adults to don't risk your career is kind of head scratching, Donnie. It really is.
Yeah, show up on the SportsGrid Network, host a show without a jacket on. See what they tell you, people. Yeah, you better put that jacket on and like it because that's what the job entails at this point. It's simple. They tell you what to do. Just do it. Make millions of dollars. Sounds like a fantastic life. Now, the one thing that you don't usually want to hear is get a phone call from a detective down the street. Joe's like, you know what? I need you to stop by the station and answer a couple questions. What's it about? We're not going to tell you. Just come on down. You might be scared of that. You know what is more scary? When the government calls you up and says, I got about 30 people in cameras. I need to answer questions in front of the public here on what's going on with the NBA. Adam Silver, you better get prepped. You're going in front of the press, people.
Oh, listen, the only people who love the cameras and the attention more than professional athletes, Donnie, are, let's face it, politicians. And the opportunity to roll him out there with the cameras going and wave their finger at him and scream at you, outstanding stuff here. But this too shall go away.
You know, when you have like a professor like MIT, like, hey, man, I'm looking to build this little robot. Like, you know what? This guy probably knows what he's talking about, can guide me in the right direction. You know, Joe, what this is going to turn on to in Capitol Hill. 75-year-old people have no idea what gambling is about, asking the stupidest questions you can possibly ask to Adam Silver. Get ready for some of these performances. Like, did he just ask that question? Yeah, he just asked that question. And what a waste of time that's going to be. I'll tell you what else could be a waste of time, but not a waste of money. The Los Angeles Angels. How much money are you going to stroke a check for to make this go away? Every day I read about, like, of course they were passing pills across on the plane and everybody knew it. Oof. You better have good insurance, Artie Moreno. Oh, my goodness.
I'm kind of shocked. Yeah, I mean, the more that comes out here, the more that they keep dragging this out, the worse it is going to get. And there's nothing good here for anybody. It's just the sooner they can all come to agreement and just go away, the better it is for everybody.
Now, it sounds like the ex-wife is really trying to get in. Is that Artie Moreno's ex-wife saying, I already got my payout, has no effect on me? I can't stand my husband here. Of course they were passing out pills on the plane. This doesn't sound too good, but somebody's going to get costed a lot of money from this tragic scenario that laid out for us. By the way, college football Saturday, let's get some of these lines out here, people. Come on.
This is a guy we should be adding. And if you added him this week, you loved life because he was coming off not just a great Sunday last week when we were ahead of that curve, but also a great Thursday night football as well. So last week, 7 for 9 for 164 and a touchdown. This week on Thursday, 5 for 5, 77 and a touchdown. He didn't even play the first 2 weeks of the year, and he's already a top 10 tight end in scoring, if you can believe it.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Travis Hunter, Joe, is a part-time wide receiver. As I've told people from the moment he was drafted, there's zero chance long-term that they'll continue to do this. In terms of playing offense and defense, they're going to have to pick a position with him. Brian Thomas, he was unbelievable. Talking to the Jaguars about him last season, he was so far ahead of schedule where they thought he'd be super smart. He had a wrist injury, by the way. We need to mention that, Joe, earlier this season.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
SMU is undefeated. You got Louisville that knocked off Miami. Yeah. Miami has one loss. There's multiple teams that potentially can make a run for an ACC championship. So their backs are still against the wall. Like, Georgia Tech is not a shoo-in right now just because they're undefeated, because they still have to play Georgia at the end of the year as well. Even though it's out of conference, that can knock them out of the playoff.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
$17,848 have been bet on this question, Joe, at Kalshi. How many pro football games will Taylor Swift attend this season?
They average an average of 9.3 games during this season here, and a lot of that has to do with her reduced touring schedule, and this maybe being his final NFL season.
Incredible stuff here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Yes, week 10 of the college football season, but don't you fret, people. Like, oh, college football is just about over. Not necessarily. We're in the month of October, Joe. You get a full November, you get a full December, and you get a full January of college football. So still 3 months in this epically long season. Why? thank you for the college football extended playoffs. A lot more energy and a lot to talk about and a lot more meaningful football games, which starts this weekend for us, Joe, at noon. The big noon kickoff, which we probably thought was going to be a much closer game, or at least a much closer spread at the beginning of the season. Penn State versus Ohio State. The total crashing down from a 47.5 to a 42.5 at some outlets. The side opened up at 17.5. Now we're seeing it closer to 3 touchdowns and a 20.5-point favorite for Ohio State. 7-0, number 1 team in the nation, taking on a 3-4 Penn State team that had championship aspirations. Now, bowl eligibility is basically what their goal is. They ain't winning at the shoe this weekend. The only question is, how badly will they be beaten there, Joe? How bad, huh?
Yeah. And that's a huge question mark. And the answer is likely more than 3 touchdowns, Donnie, especially at the shoe. And this is right up Ryan Day's alley. If you think he is not going to keep his foot on the throat here and just put away Penn State, you're out of your mind. Now, he did it when Franklin was there. He had no problem doing it. I don't think it'll be an issue here, especially given the fact that the turmoil inside that locker room with kids losing the coach and now may decide to go elsewhere. I think Ohio State rolls and will not stop rolling in this game against Penn State.
Yeah, it just feels that way, too. Like it's not that Penn State can't compete. They have talent. They have really good running backs and a solid defense. But when you're going up against the number 1 defense in the country, like how many points is Penn State going to score with their backup quarterback? 13 at most. And you know that Ohio State's probably going to be in the 30s. It's just what they do. We'll see how that game turns out. But a 3-touchdown favorite for Ohio State in the shoe. We'll see how much gas that defense turns up with this weekend for Ohio State. 7:30 start in the SEC. Oklahoma taking on Tennessee. Line opened up at 3.5, Joe. Just about every outlet, 3s to 3.5, and that total at 56.5. As we talked about earlier in some of those spread lines, both of these teams 6-2. It's going to go a long way to decide somebody's out of the college football playoff, somebody's still playing for the college football playoff at the end of this one.
Yeah, it's, this is a big game for OU without a doubt here. Now, they will have the best defense on the field, but the question is, John Mateer, not exactly great offensively for the Sooners since he came back from the hand injury, Donnie, right? And now they got to go against these Tennessee Vols, who we know are going to want to throw the ball. Aguiar has been great for them. They're going to want to make it a shootout. No, OU is going to be like, absolutely not. So I do think the public is going to look at Tennessee, look at what they've seen from Oklahoma and go, yeah, Oklahoma is a bit of a fraud here. I like Tennessee. I'm hoping the line gets up another point here or so, Donnie, because I will be looking to jump in on OU in this one.
How about Vanderbilt? Used to playing games specifically at home under 3-point spreads and coming away victorious. They're going to go on the road to take on Texas, fresh off of a big-time comeback victory, but maybe without their starting quarterback, Arch Manning. However, Texas did open up as a look-ahead line, Joe, at 3.5. That line is going down to 1.5 as a favorite towards Texas. And look at this total, 44.5. Diego Pavia on the road. We don't know who the Texas quarterback is going to be. Can Vandy pull out yet another surprise, or does Texas just have too much on defense? They can keep this game close and knock off the Commodores.
Yeah, at home, listen, whether Arch plays or does not play, I still think Texas is the right side here, Donnie. But, we had mentioned it. Vandy has become, the big story in college football, right? Diego Pavia, everyone's favorite Heisman winner. And, the problem is he hasn't looked all that great throwing the ball over the last couple of games. That game against Missouri was not good. Yeah. And they were fortunate enough because Missouri's quarterback got knocked out of that game in the second half. So, I think it's just a matter of time when a really good defense, elite defense at that, with Texas at home, ends up getting the victory here. So I don't care if Manning plays or doesn't. Matthew Caldwell, the backup, could be just as good as Manning needs to be. I'll look for Texas in this one.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on there to see if you can. But typically in pro sports and college now, you get that concussion the week before. It's very rare that you play the next week unless you put a little malpractice out there on a must-win situation, which really it is for Sark and the team. But they are slightly favored over. Look, I'm rooting for Vanderbilt every week, like that little engine that could keep on piling up the victories. But they play in the SEC. They don't get the balance of playing in the ACC. Like, hey, you play one good game here, and then 6 weeks later you get another good game. Every week in the SEC is a grinder. We'll see if they can pull out a victory on the road in a tough spot down in Texas. Cincinnati and Utah. This line opened up, Joe. Look ahead at 7.5. It's going higher and higher. We're close to double digits now. Most outlets showing back a 9.5. And the total in this game listed at 55.5. The 7-1 Bearcats on the road at 6-2 Utah.
Donnie, this was one of the biggest steam jobs yesterday. This money coming in on Utah, moving this thing to 2.5 points, has been crazy, and it's still coming in fact. So Cincinnati not getting any love, but it's not a shock, Donnie, because Cincinnati wasn't getting a whole lot of love. They didn't get it last week against Baylor. It feels like the market keeps waiting for the wheels to fall off of Cincinnati, and yet they just keep going out there and delivering. Sorsby has been absolutely phenomenal at quarterback. Not so much for Utah. This is a tricky spot for Cincinnati, though.
Notre Dame and Boston College. Told you after those first two games, two good opponents. Notre Dame lost those games, but one of the easier schedules you're going to find continues here. Notre Dame is on the road, Joe. I know this isn't a misprint. Minus 28.5 for the Fighting Irish going up against BC. Why? Because BC's 1-7 and BC stinks. Run them up the flagpole, Fighting Irish, fighting their way into the college football playoff.
No, they don't just think they're off. I mean, Louisville should have beat them by 30 last week. They outgained them by, I think, about 300 yards of offense, and that's about what's going to happen here with Notre Dame. But Notre Dame's defense has gotten better and better each week. This is, and they have no problem, Donnie, making statement games here, Notre Dame. Given the fact they have a couple of losses, expect a blowout in a big way in this game.
Look at those two running backs just continue to hand it off. Price and Love probably go for 100 yards apiece and multiple touchdowns apiece in this game. 28.5-point favorites as Notre Dame still stays in that number 12 hole. They're going to continue to stay there. They will make the college football playoff. Notre Dame, people. Let's go to Calci next. What?
Ooh.
This is a guy we should be adding. And if you add him this week, you loved life because he was coming off not just a great Sunday last week when we were ahead of that curve, but also a great Thursday night football as well. So last week, 7 for 9 for 164 and a touchdown. This week on Thursday, 5 for 5, 77 and a touchdown. He didn't even play the first 2 weeks of the year, and he's already a top 10 tight end in scoring, if you can believe it.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Travis Hunter, Joe, is a part-time wide receiver. As I've told people from the moment he was drafted, there's zero chance long-term that they'll continue to do this in terms of playing offense and defense. They're going to have to pick a position with him. Brian Thomas, he was unbelievable. Talking to the Jaguars about him last season, he was so far ahead of schedule where they thought he'd be super smart. He had a wrist injury, by the way. We need to mention that, Joe, earlier this season.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
SMU is undefeated. You got Louisville that knocked off Miami. Yeah. Miami has one loss. There's multiple teams that potentially can make a run for an ACC championship. So their backs are still against the wall. Like Georgia Tech is not a shoo-in right now just because they're undefeated, because they still have to play Georgia at the end of the year as well. Even though it's out of conference, that can knock them out of the playoff.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
$17,848 have been bet on this question, Joe, at Calci. How many pro football games will Taylor Swift attend this season?
They average an average of 9.3 games during this season here, and a lot of that has to do with her reduced touring schedule, and this maybe being his final NFL season.
Incredible stuff here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Do you like to bet on sides? Do you like to bet on totals? Do you like to bet on player prop bets here? We give that all day long on the SportsGrid Network as we handicap our way all the way through. But sometimes you like to take a look at some of those interesting markets on Polymarket and Calci, like Can I bet on a coach to see when he's going to get fired? Can I bet on a certain city getting an NBA team? Yes, you can, people. And question number one, Joe Raniero, I'm going to ask you here is, and you can bet on this, who will be the next coach out in the NFL? 3 markets listed: Mike McDaniel, Raheem Morris, and Brian Dable. You know the high riser is right now? It's Raheem Morris of the Atlanta Falcons. You know who was the high on the card coming down certainly this week? It was Mike McDaniel. Now, Mike McDaniel's still the favorite to get fired, but it seems like Stephen Ross is like, hey, man, it's my guy. Like, I back this guy. Brian Dable's on this list. He thinks he's a head coach, but their ownership group continually says, like, man, Brian Dable's our guy for the future. It feels to me like it should be Raheem Morris as the next coach to go. And the question is, when would he actually be fired, and what are the price points that you can get? If you bet that the next coach in the NFL is fired and you lay $100 down on it, that pays back $417. McDaniel, Morris, Dable. Who's in your crosshairs right there, Joe?
So likely Dable and McDaniel are done, right, Donnie? But the reality is they have not been fired yet, and they've had every opportunity, the owners of those teams there, to go ahead and fire them. So if they haven't been fired at this point, I don't see them being fired at any other point, which means they're likely going to be able to finish out the season, which makes it tough. Because Raheem Morris, to your point, Donnie, right, is the one guy, if Atlanta loses the next 3 games in a row, let's say, or 2 games in a row in epic fashion, and they can't get any offense go, it's over for Raheem Morris. I wouldn't. You need somebody on that list, Donnie, that we think can actually be fired in season right now before the end of it. Otherwise, there's no value waiting to the end of the year, and I think Morris is the right pick there.
Have a value on this. Sometimes we talk about, Joe, like, I don't want to tie my money up here to the end of the season. Well, how about tying your money up to around 2030? Yeah, it's still 2025 right now. That's a good 5 years. The question that we have on the Kalshi market is Seattle team play game before 2030. Yeah, I didn't read that wrong. That's how it's listed there. Seattle team play game before 2030. But understand this. You say to yourself typically like, okay, that's 5 years. They got to get a franchise. They're always looking to get back to Seattle, which I do agree with. But a lot of times the holdup, Joe, is not the team getting back to Seattle or anywhere we're looking to have an expansion team. It's like, okay, Carolina, expansion team in football. It's going to take some time. They need to build the stadium before they get in there. You already have that ready-made, brand-new arena that Seattle's playing hockey in right now that will accept a basketball team. So for me, Joe, for Seattle to get a basketball team back by 2030, I wouldn't bet on it because it's too far down the line. But I got to tell you, I think that's a winning bet, and you do get a Seattle team playing a game in Seattle before 2030.
Well, Donnie, this is a great one because it highlights the significant difference between the predictive markets and your sportsbook betting. If I was to bet on this in a sportsbook, Donnie, I'd have to wait until there was finality one way or the other, whether they did or didn't by 2030, right? Which means my money is tied up until we get to some sort of conclusion. In the predictive markets, I lock myself into this contract at that price now. And at any time between now and 2030, Donnie, if the value increases, I'm making money and I can sell that contract. I'm good to go. I'm out. See you later. So I'm not forced to have to keep the money in there, wait till the event happens one way or the other. No. If that line continues to move up and it looks like it's going to happen, you got yourself a pretty good investment.
Yeah, how about this, though? Do you like the way it's worded, though, Joe? Seattle team play game before 2030. Like, don't waste any words in there. Just get the people understand what you're saying
to the point.
At this point. Yeah, get to the point. That's what they did. How about this point? Will Cristiano Ronaldo play in the World Cup? An 80% chance they're saying yes at this point. And the rule summary listed, if Cristiano Ronaldo is on the final squad for their country, I should say for his country, in at the World Cup. You know what's funny, man? Like we don't really have teleprompters here, Joe, on our side. Like we're really off the cuff fly. That's what we do. We don't have to read anything. But it's funny when you actually have to read something and it's wrong every time and you question it. Like rule summary list. This is exactly it. If Cristiano Ronaldo is on the final roster for their country in at the World Cup 2026, then the market resolves to yes. Make what you think of that. What they're actually saying is, will Ronaldo be on the World Cup for his home country? I say yes. Come on now. Get back out there.
I'm confused. But yes, I still think, and the market apparently does too, at that 89-cent price there, Donnie. It looks like they think the same thing that we do.
Like, it looks like it was run like through AI. Like, hey, just say something about Cristiano Ronaldo and it just comes up wrong. That's not hard to list a rule summary in just plain English at this point. I know they're trying to market it around the world, but this is actually better than the actual bets themselves just trying to read about those said bets. NFL news next.
Very young team outside of Durant. They're going to be an impossible out in a 7-game series, and I'm predicting it right now. If the seeding lines up, you are getting the Thunder and the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. There's not another team in the West that's going to be as good as the Rockets are when we get to playoff time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I don't want people to stop discounting how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is. And I think they're going to find a way to get it done. I think they're going to be better than people think. And I also think if that's the case, then I'm fading someone in that division. You know who I'm fading, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks, who have now cut 2 players this year so that they can bring back both Antetokounmpo to play with Giannis.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Right back at it with the NFL. Why? Because week 9, and again, shedding tears here, Joe Ranieri. Week 9 of the NFL. Come on, we were just in Philadelphia opening night taking on the Dallas Cowboys here with so much of a season left to go. And there's a lot of football left to be played. But this is why we always, where does the time go? Next week, Joe, the clock's going to be falling back on Sunday. We're in the month of November. Incredible how fast this goes. But we do have a game coming up on Thursday Night Football. And the question, once again, for the Baltimore Ravens, who are we getting at quarterback? And also, for a team that's so down in the dumps, you're not supposed to get off the map with the record that they actually have, the Baltimore Ravens. They picked up a victory last week without their top signal caller in Lamar Jackson. Now they go on the road as a 7.5-point favorite, expecting Lamar Jackson to be back. Talk to me, Joe, about the momentum if Baltimore wins last week and this week. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers be looking at the rearview mirror, be like, you know what? Just pass us. We can't hold on anymore.
Well, they need to do that altogether anyway here. Let's face it, Cincinnati and the Browns not likely to make a run here, but Pittsburgh sitting there still with a 2-game lead, right, over Baltimore. But they're going to have to play one another here, Donnie, coming up. We know this. And they got to get Lamar healthy. And the fact that they could weather the storm, and I do think he is going to go here against Miami, and I don't think they're going to have a problem beating Miami. And I'll tell you for the simple reason is I think what that defense showed you last week of Baltimore is that they got a little fight in them. They got healthy. They got Roquan Smith. They got Humphrey back. They got a bunch of key guys back on that defensive side, and it showed against a team. Who was feeling better than the Bears, right? Going into that game, having a 4-game winning streak. They were rolling, Donnie. Certainly started to look the part offensively. Not against that defense there. I don't think it matters that they come here to Miami at all. I do like the Ravens to win this game, but really, The Ravens have to, they have no more room for error, Donnie. Yeah. So this is every game is a winner or your season's over kind of situation right now.
Already in the playoffs in the month of October, feels like that's what the Baltimore Ravens are doing. They have to chase down the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are opening that door for them to try to push it across. Keep in mind also, both of those teams, they still have 2 games left to play in the division. That could decide it as well. Minnesota and Detroit, they're in the same division here. Detroit looks like their engines are revving right now. The questions were on J.J. McCarthy. Hold on. We've seen quarterbacks fight back from high ankle sprains way sooner than J.J. McCarthy. By fault of his, no fault of his, he's going to start this week because Carson Wentz ain't coming to the Reds, and Brosmer, whoever the heck that backup quarterback is, not playing either. They, talking about Minnesota, 8.5-point dogs. A rusty J.J. McCarthy on the road. I don't know how this ends well for Minnesota at this point right now, but all the tickets, 9 out of 10, Joe, lining up on Detroit to absolutely hammer the Vikings. Can they have a chance here in Motown?
Well, I mean, both teams are rested here, right? Because the Lions had a bye week, and I don't think the Vikings played, last Thursday? So it was in L.A., but big deal. At least they've had some chance to work on some things and get it going. But I mean, the look-ahead line here was about 7.5, and that was prior to the Vikings getting steamrolled 37-10 against the Chargers. Now we know no Carson Wentz. Now McCarthy, who to me still a rookie here, Donnie, and I know it's his second year in the league, but he's only got a handful of games under his belt here because of injuries. So yeah, I think the line is only going to continue to go one way. And are we ready to admit that maybe this Vikings defense was a little overrated heading into the season here with Brian Flores? What do you think?
Yeah, hey, Brian Flores, keep blitzing Detroit, see what happens here in this performance, where they're going to pick up that blitz and dot you down the field. Like, this isn't hey, rookie quarterback, I'm going to show them all these different looks. That Detroit team is humming on offense, and they just might stomp out. This might be a Justin Jefferson game like, you better trade me before the deadline. I can't take it anymore here in Minnesota. How about this game? Get used to it, Pittsburgh Steelers. Ooh, Pittsburgh getting points at home. Let's take them. Well, you know what? You're getting points again this weekend because the Colts, a dome team going outdoors to Pittsburgh and are the favorites, and they deserve to be. That's a well-oiled machine on offense. A 3-point favorite on the road in a total of 49.5. If you are Pittsburgh, hey, Aaron Rodgers, dinking and dunking ain't going to work in this game. And if that defense shows up on Sunday once again and goes, hey, we don't need any sacks, you're going to get planted by the Colts here. The Colts as a favorite on the road in Pittsburgh, Joe. What are your early thoughts this week?
Well, this is going to be interesting, right, Donnie? Because it's all right. So we've seen the Colts do it now on the road, albeit in some dome situations. But what are they going to go in November and December? And this is the big question, right? What are they going to be doing outdoors? Well, they're likely going to be doing whatever they want offensively. The question is, with the Colts to me, is defensively, what are they going to do? They still have a ton of injuries in that secondary. They've got some injuries on the defensive line. Pittsburgh is starting to get backed into a corner here a little bit. I don't expect them to be held to prior to that empty netter, Pittsburgh, against that defense of Green Bay. I expect points in this one. And I think you got to be crazy to think that a light switch is going to go off and Pittsburgh is all of a sudden going to become the steel curtain. I think it's overs all the way with these two teams.
Yeah, again, under in Indianapolis, you might think in the past, like, yeah, that makes some sense, Anthony Richardson. You watch this offense, as efficient as you can get. Wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, and maybe the best running back in football right now on fire is Jonathan Taylor. Hey, handle the football in your own 20. Bing! 80 yards later, that's a touchdown here. Good luck, Pittsburgh here. The team that deserves to be favored is actually favored in that ball game. Let's take a look at the game of the day, possibly at 4:25. Kansas City Chiefs on a short work week to take on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills came out of their bye week and absolutely pounded. Keep pounding Carolina Panthers. Yeah, you got pounded last week. Now you see them at home in Buffalo. Look at this. The Kansas City Chiefs are the favorites on the road. The Buffalo Bills at home is the dog, 51.5. This game should be absolutely spectacular. And I agree. We're in a coin flip right now based on the odds.
Yeah, it is. And again, I don't know that Buffalo wants to get into any sort of shootout here. That is not what they have been built for this season. Their defense is obviously not as good as they've had in some years past. They got to get Matt Milano back. They lost Ed Oliver in the last game at Carolina now again after waiting to get him back. So the best bet for Buffalo is to do what they have set out to do, and that is run the ball down your throat and keep Mahomes and company on the sideline. That is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and they are going to need them to be good. They're going to need to move the chains. I think the under is the best look here, Donnie, because I don't think Buffalo's going to just drop back Josh Allen 50 times in this game. They're going to run it down the throat of Kansas City and force them to stop them.
Yeah, going to need a big Josh Allen game because that Kansas City Chiefs defense looks like it's really zeroing in here in 2025. Fun game, though. Glad we have that matchup where we actually have games to look forward to this weekend. Imagine that, than just alone betting these games. Sunday Night Football, Seattle and Washington. The question is, what are we getting out of Washington? Is Terry McLaurin going to play? Is Deebo Samuel healthy enough? How about Jaden Daniels? Will he be the starting quarterback? The one thing I know, Seattle's got a pretty good football team, and they are the favorites on the road, rested and ready at -3.5 as a favorite.
Yeah, I kind of like Seattle here. And Seattle, Donnie, under McDonald here is no problem. They're one of the best ATS road teams that you can back over the last couple of seasons with him. It's being at home that has been the issue for Seattle, but on the road in a spot like this, even being a favorite, has not been an issue here. I think they're rolling, and I think right time, right place could be ripe for a blowout here.
Yeah, it just looks like the wheels are falling off for Washington. Sometimes you get it. Like I've talked about ad nauseum here, the San Francisco 49ers. Really good football team coming into the season, really good schedule. But if you don't have the football players to play that schedule, like we don't even know if Mac Jones is going to play or even Brock Purdy, or both might be injured for this game coming up. It feels like that. Like, yes, Mariota's a veteran quarterback, but you knew last night, come on, 7 points against Kansas City. That's not going to work. Is Mariota just going to flip the light switch without Terry McLaurin and run up and down that field? I don't think so. Good slate this week, and also no early games on Sunday here as you fall back. No late games. You know, hey, look, you get an extra hour there. Should be able to stay up at this point. Monday Night Football is Arizona and Dallas, so I like the way this is shaping up, but the most important thing is who's going to be at quarterback on Thursday night. We always keep you posted on the early line. We'll get those updates Wednesday. We'll get those updates Thursday. Don't you go anywhere because Adam Kaufman's going to join us next to talk a little Major League Baseball.
Very young team outside of Durant. They're going to be an impossible out in a 7-game series, and I'm predicting it right now. If the seeding lines up, you are getting the Thunder and the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. There's not another team in the West that's going to be as good as the Rockets are when we get to playoff time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I don't want people to stop discounting how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is. And I think they're going to find a way to get it done. I think they're going to be better than people think. And I also think if that's the case, then I'm fading someone in that division. You know who I'm fading, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks, who have now cut 2 players this year so that they can bring back both Antetokounmpo to play with Giannis.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, you know, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Rise and grind, rise and shine. It's what we do on the early line. And some people getting to that water cooler here going like, hey, man, I need to tape my eyelids back so I can keep going on today. Because why? We were watching the Los Angeles Dodgers last night in an epic 18-inning game against the Toronto Blue Jays. And we're coming back for more today. Donnie right side, Joe Ranier. We welcome in Adam Kaufman. Adam, did you have that coffee? Did you get caffeinated? How are you awake today? How did you deal with an 18-inning epic game last night?
Guys, I'll be honest, I don't know where the hell I am. If I look like I just woke up, it's because literally 5 minutes ago, I pulled myself out of bed to talk to you guys. I didn't even have time to splash some water on my face. I feel like my eyes are, like this is unbelievable game. And I'm sure you guys, given the early nature of this show, didn't have the luxury of staying up for this thing. But it was exhilarating. Again, it didn't end until almost 3 a.m. Eastern, and we saw 19 pitchers between the two teams. Obviously, so many different opportunities, never mind in the, regulation, if you will, stanza of the game, the first 9 innings. In the following 9 innings that this game went, as they played two a la Ernie Banks, but all at once. In the final 9, there were just so many opportunities that this game could have been won. Whether it was being aggressive on the base pads, arguably too aggressive, guys getting thrown out at home, thrown out at third, trying to steal bases with, like Shohei getting thrown out at second with Mookie Betts coming up to bat, with 2 outs in the end. There were just so many different things that when Freddie Freeman hit that blast to dead center field in the bottom of the 18th inning to walk this thing off, you were kind of thinking they're going to rob him or it's going to fall short at the track. Like, there's no way this game is ending. I mean, obviously, it was the second longest baseball game in postseason history. We saw the Dodgers, who were involved in the other one with the Red Sox in LA back in 2018, a game that I was in the building for. It was amazing. Like, during a game like this, and obviously I wasn't in the building for this one, but during a game like this, as a fan, a true baseball fan, I'm sure everybody in attendance felt the same way. And probably, again, a lot of people who were at home that actually did force themselves to stay up, or if you had the benefit of being on the West Coast, it wasn't as difficult. This game, you didn't want it to end. Like, there was just so much drama, so much fun. You wanted this thing to go all night and keep bleeding into the first pitch of the next game. Shohei Ohtani, who's pitching today, got on base 9 times safely in this game last night. He went 4 for 4. He walked 5 times intentionally. They wanted nothing to do with him. This was just, we could go on and on. This game was so much fun.
It was awesome stuff. And also, when you're watching it play out like in real time, the 18 innings, it's funny because you hear the calls. Like, it was a great TV call to end that game. But some of the radio calls were like, fly ball out to center field, and he's going back. Oh, wait, somebody scored. It's a home run at this point. Like, so many people were like, oh, thank goodness that went out. Now, if you were betting the game, you liked that Dodgers money line. It was minus 200. You liked the over that it already hit. So a lot of things going into it. So let's get to the game tonight, Adam, which we don't see too often, an 18-inning game in the regular season, let alone in the postseason and the World Series. How does this game shape up, and who has the advantage today as we're seeing the prices heavily jump now? FanDuel's up to a minus 210 on the Dodgers today, Adam.
Yeah, and I saw that at minus 205 right before we came on. Obviously, it's moved 5 cents. It just continues to sort of ping-pong around, and I imagine there'll be an element of that up until the game. Last night I was on the over, and that was sweat-free because it was 4-4, I think, by the 5th inning, and the total was 8. Now, if you got it, whether 8, 8.5, you knew you were in. The one thing that I had that I was kind of sweating throughout that game, but once we went to extras, it wasn't definitively dead, but I kind of felt like it was dead, was I had the Dodgers run line. So I was just sitting there looking for a 2-run homer to try and end this thing. But, unfortunately, that doesn't come to fruition. As far as today's game, well, actually, I should mention the other thing that I was really sweating was I have Dodgers minus 1.5 for the series. So I was sitting there going, at the very least, you got to win this game, because I just don't necessarily see the Dodgers winning 3 straight if they go down 2-1. So that really felt like that was on the line in last night's game as well. So again, fortunately, LA wins that game, takes us into it today where they certainly have the definitive pitching matchup with Ohtani versus Bieber in terms of ability. But I do think, stamina has to come into play. And what I mean by that is Ohtani played this entire game last night. Again, reached base 9 times. Now, was he in the field and exerting all of his energy. He was not, but he was involved in this thing until well after midnight West Coast time, never mind in the clubhouse after the fact, all of that. Bieber, and I don't know this to be a fact, but I'm guessing that they might have sent him home, back to the hotel by the end of 9, right? Like there's no way this guy was in the ballpark the entire game. I'm sure he went home to get a good night's sleep. At least I'd be pretty surprised if I'm wrong about that. And so, whereas again, the pitching ability goes to Ohtani, the rest factor might actually go to Bieber. So I do see some value in the Toronto money line here. I don't want to do it because personally, I don't want to bet against myself when it comes to my Dodgers -1.5, knowing that the Dodgers would have to win the next 2 after the fact to cash that bet. But if I had no pre-flop, pre-series investment, I would probably take the value on the plus money with Toronto because Ohtani could be exhausted out there. The other thing, and I'm curious as to what you guys think about this, I just kind of by default want to go back to the total and say over 7.5 because again, they roll through almost 20 pitchers. These guys are going to be exhausted. I think runs are going to be scored in this game, so I do like the over. But the flip side, if I were to argue against myself, is sure, but how tired are these hitters going to be? Or are they going to be, waving at pitches out of the strike zone that they shouldn't be, going down on swings or sort of half-heartedly swinging at pitches that, they don't make great contact on, and then we see an under just because these guys are wiped. I'm not sure what to do with the total.
I'm interested in that total, too. Like, I would lean towards the over as well. I thought that it was 7.5 early yesterday, went to 8s and 8.5 by game time. I'm leaning towards the over, Joe. What do you say about that? Leaning towards the over tonight?
That's the only way you can look here. And stop pitching to Ohtani, Toronto. Stop pitching to Ohtani. You'll be good to go there. Yeah, well, they're going to have to keep doing it, though. This game, the next game, if there is one, they got to just stop pitching to him. My goodness.
3 passes. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the record for intentional walks in a postseason is Barry Bonds with 13, something like that. Ohtani could get there in this series.
Break it.
The MVP for the next 10 years, it's Shohei Ohtani. The MVP of the World Series, it's Shohei Ohtani, people. Thanks, Adam, for rising and grinding with us on this Tuesday morning.
Very young team outside of Durant. They're going to be an impossible out in a 7-game series, and I'm predicting it right now. If the seeding lines up, you are getting the Thunder and the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. There's not another team in the West that's going to be as good as the Rockets are when we get to playoff time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I don't want people to stop discounting how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is. And I think they're going to find a way to get it done. I think they're going to be better than people think. And I also think if that's the case, then I'm fading someone in that division. You know who I'm fading, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks, who have now cut 2 players this year so that they can bring back both Antetokounmpo to play with Giannis.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Get excited, people, how quickly 2 hours go by. Because why? The information is good, the laughs all the way through, and what you need to know to get caught up with, that's what we provide. And also look forward to what's going to happen tonight. But also understand this. We talk a lot on the show, as we say, but we always like to hear from the people out there. Here's our Fade the Public poll question. Some people are tired on the East Coast. Heck, some people are tired on the West Coast, but that doesn't mean Major League Baseball stops because you got another game tonight, Game 4 of the World Series. We ask questions each and every day, Monday through Friday, for the early line to see where the people are headed in a certain direction. It's easy. Go to SportsGrid, or should I say at SportsGrid on X, follow along. Question asked this morning, will the Dodgers be up 3-1 on the Blue Jays after tonight? Simple question. It basically means that the Dodgers will win this game. Do you believe they will? Absolutely and no were the two answers that were given. 60% of the people say absolutely. Why? Because the Dodgers won last night. They're up 2-1. The Dodgers got Ohtani on the mound, who got on base 9 times last night. My goodness, Joe. I voted absolutely. Minus 200 price. Yeah, looks like that's true.
It's tough, Donnie, because, again, the Blue Jays, the way they have been playing and the way they have been built here, the long ball is the great equalizer here. And they are hitting it at an obscene rate, Donnie. They're getting guys on base, they're making contact, and they're giving themselves a chance to have big innings, which matters in postseason baseball. I want to know what's going on with Springer. Is he playing? Is he not? He was having an MRI. They weren't sure. He had a right side issue. He swung the bat, Donnie, grimaced, looked like he couldn't lift his arm. So nobody knows what's going on. That's a big loss if Springer is not available to them, not just tonight, but the rest of the series. But we always said they have a puncher's chance, Donnie. They know they can't go down 3-1. And why not? This is about as even a playing field as they've had, given the fact that they both had to play 18 innings last night. I would give them a puncher's chance. I would fade the public and say, not so fast here. Toronto might have a little something left in the tank here.
Let's see. They better jump on Ohtani early in that game because you do not want to go down and say, oh, no, here we go again as a 3-1 series lead. Within the Dodgers talking about winning the World Series on their home turf here. But that's just the way it goes down here. Fun question to ask. We'll see how it plays out a little bit later tonight. But last night, Joe, 1-1 as a team last night. Picked up a victory here on the over in this game on the team total for the Dodgers. You got robbed there of a first 5 innings run line pick on the Dodgers. But tonight, we go 2-0. Here's bye. We can go baseball. We can go hockey. We can go basketball, Joe. Where are you going tonight? Maybe college football? What?
Yeah, thanks, Tommy Edman, for the ball going under the glove on an easy double play in the 4th inning. But I digress, because tonight we're going back to if it ain't broke, Donnie, we ain't fixing it. Give me the boys from Kennesaw State laying 10 points here tonight against UTEP, Texas El Paso. Listen, the UTEP has gotten a little bit better offensively with the quarterback change with Skylar Locklear. But Kennesaw State has been an absolute ATM machine, Donnie, over the last couple of months. They have now delivered 4 straight ATS wins for us. In fact, Kennesaw State's only 2 losses, Donnie, you ready, are to unbeaten Indiana, and they lost by just 1 point to Wake Forest. My numbers make this a 2-touchdown win here for Kennesaw State. UTEP's defense, not the best, but their offense is nowhere near what Kennesaw State's is. I love Kennesaw State in this spot. I think they keep it rolling, Donnie. They're going to lock up the division here, the conference, and I think they get it done by 2 touchdowns here tonight against UTEP.
Let's go, Kennesaw State. For me, I'm going right back to the Major League Baseball diamond. We got some information last night that says, yes, Shohei Ohtani's really good. He gets on base 9 times last night. Hey, don't pitch to this guy, which means if you don't pitch to him and he doesn't swing at strikes that are outside of the zone, he's going to be on base. Make somebody else beat you. Plays right into my wheelhouse here. Maybe it's Mookie Betts. Maybe it's Will Smith. Maybe it's Max Muncy. It's Freddie Freeman tonight. He walked it off last night. I'm betting Freddie Freeman tonight to get an RBI. That price point at DraftKings right now, plus 157. If Ohtani's going to be on base and Mookie Betts can move him over, Freddie Freeman's going to drive him in. Freddie Freeman, RBI tonight, plus money, plus 157. That sounds like a 2-0 night tonight for the boys, Joe.
Sounds like exactly where you want it to be, Donnie. Freeman with an opportunity to drive a run in. That is exactly what he does.
Rested and ready. That's what Joe Ranieri and Donnie Rightside bring to the table each and every Monday through Friday morning on the early line. You know what, people? We'll see you bright and early once again tomorrow morning.